You know, sometimes you look at things and you can't see the forest for the trees, and sometimes things go on and on, but this is one that's way, way overdue. I met Earl Barroso back in the 80s, and we became real close friends and competitors. We weren't quite up at the top of the heap at that time, but boy, we were both trying like the devil. And I know Earl was just working so hard, and I can't say enough good things about Earl. He really loved skeet and had that competitive drive that was just second to none. And during his last years, he exhibited just unbelievable courage as he continued to shoot as his body was failing him. Anytime I'm feeling bad out there and it's hot, I just think back about Earl when he was out there in Houston towards the end. And I mean, you looked at him and you just felt terrible, and he was out there breaking 100. You know, I mean, just amazing. What a profile of courage. But I know nobody's perfect, and we all have our weak moments, but I never saw it in Earl. You know, he always had a big smile. You saw the pictures. I mean, that was true Earl. If you knew him, that's always the way he was. And he may want to beat your brains out, but he just had a great attitude and words of encouragement for everybody. And here to induct Earl tonight is somebody who's very special to me, and you can tell he's very special to Earl. You saw him in the pictures. I think Earl has had a formative influence on so many people, and one of them is Cliff Moeller. Cliff, would you come and do the induction, please?
Tonight, I'm here for Earl, as he represents to me and is my most favorite Hall of Fame inductee of all times. Now, Castillo, don't get jealous. You're number 2. How does one, and it is an extremely difficult thing to induct, to do the introduction to a Hall of Fame, for a Hall of Fame inductee. How does one describe an entire existence in the scope of a few seconds and still do it justice when there's so many factors that go into defining our lives, from incredible accomplishments to unknown acts of grace? And how does one commit it to words when Shakespeare has written all the best prose, Hemingway has written all the best stories, and Rocky Goodman has told all the best jokes twice? So there's only one thing one can do, and that is panic! So before my memories fail me, let's talk about the who, the when, and the what of Earl. And let's start out with the what. What was his style? And what were his major accomplishments? Jess Briley once described the style, and I quote, "When I first saw Earl Barroso and Ralph Petley shoot, I thought, who are those two fools, and they'll never learn how to shoot." And what were his accomplishments? The most significant thing about Earl's, the fact in terms of the statistic, is that he only shot registered targets for 17 years. 13 years out of those 17 years, he was elected to the TSSA first team. Only 6 shooters in the history of Texas have more accomplishments. Yes, he was a open All-American 85 and 86. Yes, he was a TSSA champion. Yes, he traveled all over the country competing at some of the major shoots, winning HOAs or gun championships at the Great Eastern, at the Bluegrass in Kentucky, at the Great Western, and yes, he won either many open gun championships or HOAs championships at the Great Evil Skeet Empire of the South, which of course is the Dallas Gun Club, which to this day remains the greatest gun club in America, as well as the most difficult place to win because of all the AAA shooters that compete in that arena. Let's talk about the when, Earl's era. Earl did most of his shooting in the 80s and the 90s. And he was flanked by Ralph Petley and Jimmy Butler, who as a combination formed a rather colorful squad of excellent shooters. I also believe that the 80s and the 90s were the was the golden age of skeet. As scores were being shattered, equipment was rapidly developing, and young, impressive superstar shooters were springing up all over America. America seemed to be thriving with skeet jet setters. And the evolution of money shoots all of a sudden created the motivation for people to travel someplace that they could do in their very own backyard. It seemed as though American shooters, skeet shooters, were prescribing the same philosophy a dog prescribes to when he grabs a stick, throws it up in the air, and catches it, thinking, as long as we have this to do, what else matters? And as much as it was the golden age of skeet, it was also the age of innocence. Skeet shooters were a band of brothers who were eager to promote their sport. They tended to forgive more than they tended to hold grudges. And if there was ever an issue, a fuss or anything nasty, Earl was one of the chief peacemakers, as his presence seemed to naturally make things better. Call it his charisma, call it the most impressive smiles in the history of mankind. Whatever it was, Earl elevated the human spirit. He was a printer by profession, a duck hunter, an Italian who loved everything about his heritage. He loved his family. He communicated with his family frequently, and who can forget his final days when he just refused to say I quit, even when Mother Nature took on the role of assassin. And he kept on shooting no matter what the conditions were, like Doc was describing. There was just no quit in him. He was also a man of tremendous faith, a great friend to many, and eventually his illness triumphed. And I know of 2 phone calls that he made days before he died. One was to Jimmy Butler, who they frequently they would joke around about who was going to go to whose funeral. He just simply told him, hey, get ready, I want to say goodbye, and get your suit out. And the other phone call that he made to a friend of his who was suffering from depression, and he told him, Cliff, things are going to get good again. You have to have faith. And that's the kind of man Earl was, and that was Earl. And that is basically the very incomplete story about Earl. Because the complete story about Earl was really a story about Mary. Because it was always about Earl and Mary. It wasn't ever about Earl, or it wasn't ever about Mary. It was always Earl and Mary. They did everything together. I squatted with them. I hunted with them. My wife and I traveled with them. And this is a couple that was never made up of 2 individuals. It was like it was one single organism. And if there is one thing that I'm sure of, that in his final moments, his only wish would have been to slowly evaporate away atom per atom so he could reconstitute himself with you, Mary, atom per atom in a subparticle world, and remain in that state forever. So please come up, whoever is upset them for Earl.
Congratulations to you.
I'm back. Earl Barroso. Well, Cliff pretty much hit it on the head as to what kind of a person he was and how he led his life. There are many of you here tonight that didn't know Earl, and I'm really sorry for you because he was everything that Cliff said he was. He was a truly kind and giving individual. Earl had one of those smiles that could just light up a room. And he could make a total stranger feel like a longtime friend. It was just his way. On Earl's behalf tonight, I would like to thank a few of the individuals that he held very near and dear to his heart. First, I'd like to thank his brothers, Richard and Daryl. Well, they're my brothers too. I don't care if we're not by blood, but they're my brothers because they are truly two of the kindest and most giving brothers that you could ever ask for. I want to thank Daryl for taking care of all the business end of things, which allowed Earl and us to go shooting. And I want to thank both of these two for helping me to take care of him when he became ill, because I couldn't have done it on my own. I want to thank Jess Briley, target setter extraordinaire. Right, Cliff?
Right.
In the infamous words of Jess Briley, I told you the targets were set too high. After he missed 3 targets the first round, the 20-gauge event at the 1986 Great Eastern. Earl went on to shoot a 97 and a 397 HOA that weekend and won the Great Eastern High Overall Championships. He never forgot Jess's words. To Rocky Goodman, squad mate, hunting companion, cake thief, and practical jokester. Rocky, Earl's still working on getting absolution for all those Catholic priest jokes you told. Jim Butler. Jimmy, I know you're back there somewhere. A squad mate, 2-man team partner, and truly his best friend. I can't say enough, Jimmy, how much your friendship and support meant to Earl. I know you two were really close. And to Cliff Moeller, for always being Cliff, the eternal optimist and generous to a fault. Truly a good friend. All of these people have combined to so many memories of Earl and so many happy times. And I wish he was here tonight. But one more person that needs to be mentioned, I guess, would be me. And I, of course, held a very special place in Earl's heart, as he does in mine. And to this day, I think of Earl every day of my life. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think of him. But I know tonight that he and Sammy are up there looking down on this banquet, and he's smiling that smile that could light up a room. Good luck, everybody, tomorrow, and thank you.